Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. I do hope everyone had a glorious weekend, made amazing gains. I know I did. And I just have to say, today is an absolutely gorgeous day. It's an amazing way to start the weekend. Start the week. I didn't have a perfect score on my push day today, which is a little bit disappointing, but it is what it is. I'm getting stuck on the incline machine, but eventually it's going to happen. But so today, that's all for formalities, I suppose. So let's go on to the topic of today's video, which is something that was inspired, I guess you could say, by a conversation I was having with a friend of mine during this weekend, and we were talking about the recent elevation of anxiety. It feels like for the both of us, we felt that recent elevation, and it's drawing a lot of questions, and it's very it's weighing. It's one thing of reading about it, it's one thing even seeing it on someone else, but to feel it upon you, it's a different story. And and that boils down to the whole pivotal topic through for these past few years, and that's crisis of meaning. The crisis of meaning, the loss of masculinity, the loss of purpose, the loss of a will to live, the loss of a will to participate, really. And and it's becoming increasingly difficult to want to even remain attached to the ideology. I feel like, one of the things about the globalization of the world, of all of this, really, of civilization, finally, is that there's just a swath of infinite ideas that you could draw upon, and it just strings you out, and there's just too many ideas to have a solid foundation. And it's just a loss of faith in the ideology itself. People are starting to see what it is. There's a loss of faith in it. People don't want to participate in it anymore, even though they do. But that's different levels there. So, but because once you start looking outside and you start becoming disgusted with what's going on outside, you don't want to participate, obviously. But you're also left with that feeling of frustration. My friend and I, I catch myself exhibiting frustration, pent up anger that really is looking for an avenue to be exercised. And so I try to get my friend to work out as well. He's, pestering him. Well, he's been more active lately, so it's pretty cool. But be that as it may, you're left isolated. You're left out. One of the things about this ideology, or I guess the way that we've been taught, is that our existence is justified by our participation, right? It is through people do we exist. At least for most people, is that if you're not acknowledged by your peers, then you're not really existing, which is a very important aspect of us to begin with. We all have that will to power, I guess you could say, is the will to exhibit power over other people, and one of them is by distinguishing oneself. But it's against formality to say it out loud or to admit it out loud. Right? You got to be modest. So there's there is a lot of problems with this ideology, and there's way too much to get into. But just for the sake of brevity, just gonna be talking about just that anger and what to do. Because to not participate in the morality and to be able to understand morality for what it is, and it's a will to power. I've been reading The Dawn of Day by Nietzsche. It's a fantastic book. It's talking about the origins of morality, which is mindfuck to say the least. But it all makes sense. What is morality but rules and customs and stuff that you have to follow? You don't question it. We never question why we have to behave a certain way. We just believe that the utility itself is the justification or the reason of its existence. We never know why. Okay, why do I have to exhibit this way, to what end? And it really is a subtle means of commanding and obeying. Obeying customs that don't even make any fucking sense. How different religions have different customs that don't make any sense. Like Jews, they still cut off the foreskins of their kids' dicks. Doesn't make any sense, but they have to do it, even if it's beyond reason. But that's the I guess the appeal of religions and ideologies, is that it rejects the realities of the world, right? That's why we did these things, I guess. It's to create a reality within reality that we can digest. So this is all really starting to make fucking sense, really, now that I'm talking about it. I keep saying this all the time, but it's always great that I started this whole video, like making videos about this sort of stuff, because it forces one to actually describe and express oneself through the new ideas that you're reading. So this is a great mental exercise. It's fantastic cognitive exercise. But back to the original point is, you start realizing all these things, and and how it is truly a morality of customs, and it is a power, a power relationship, Well, but once you realize that, you really can be given the door, if you really want to look at it that way, or the avenue to create your own, because at the end of the day, it's all subjective. We all believe in these truths in order to participate. But morality really is self-deprecating and self-effacement and shit like that, because you have to submit yourself, you have to control yourself, you have to tyrannize over yourself and your most violent passions, as Nietzsche says, in order to participate, in order to be to have etiquette in society. You can't express who you really are for the sake of community. These are quite amazing observations by this amazing man. But that's the problem in itself with what's going on now. We see it as a power play. We see that the only people that seem to even pay attention to morality are the poor. So clearly it is a coping mechanism. It's a way to justify the suffering and plight of one's existence, is by inversing the values and putting suffering as, good, and being poor as good, and being common as good, to have pity for one another so you can have others help you. It's a survival aspect. It's an instinct. It's how Nietzsche says it in Dawn of Day, that all our moral precepts based on animal precepts, or based on animal instincts to survive. That's the reason that we attach ourselves to politics and philosophies and religions and the opinions of the day and whatnot, is from deep down in the roots of our instincts, is a way to evade from our predators, and to blend in with our surroundings, blend in with our people, in order to escape our pursuers. And that makes amazing sense. And what is truth but security, a wanting to know about yourself so you can't be deceived by yourself. Your constant watch over yourself, constant watch over others. That's why a lot of people preach truth, because you don't want people to hide anything. You want people to be out in the open so you know what's going on. Truth is security. When you take that into consideration, you can really start creating your own morale, and you start rejecting. Because one thing is to critique and reject, but another thing is to create. And that's a lot easier said than done, right? But, that's the problem with now, is this crisis of meaning, this wanting to reject the ideology and the stupidity of it all. Rabble, and how all of this that's going on really is a natural progression of the state of mind that we've been in for these past couple thousand years. One moment, please. Like, it makes all sense. Like, it all makes sense, sorry. how we got to this point, and how the emphasis on the poor and the plight of the many over the few really started emphasizing the importance of the plight of the many, and how, justifying or glorifying taking actions to alleviate said burden. It's a good thing to take pity on another. It's a good thing to donate and to be a philanthropist and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it really all is self-interest anyways, right? Everyone does these things for a certain satisfaction, that they're using morality as a justification for that action. It's like a filter. Um, it's quite astounding how that all makes sense to me. I can't believe it took me this long to figure that out, but better late than never. And it's kind of helped me out a lot with this crisis of meaning, this crisis of anxiety, this overwhelming anxiety. The reality that I have set forth is no longer viable enough to continue to suffer this reality. So clearly, new foundations, new values have to be set in place in my life in order to continue to progress. That's the only way forward. That's taking reality into the situation. And I don't want to go back into the bosom of Christianity, just as Jordan Peterson advocates for, or a lot of people advocate for. Being a man is being one of the community. But on that same token, from that same breath, that's where this opinion comes from, that men are nothing more than pockets, like pocketbooks and stuff like that. That's our own utility. Our utility is the basis of our existence, right? So, I don't really want that either, to be quite honest with you. I know a man is supposed to provide, but, is that really what I'm going to be worth? I don't want that to be the measure of my worth. I don't want how well am I participating in the game to be the measure of my worth. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to measure whether I've succeeded in life, how many followers I have on Instagram, or how many people comment on my shit. Is that really what I want to set out for as the basis of my existence, and my vanity being reliant upon the opinions of others? I don't really. And I don't want to be frustrated because now I'm going to be left out. Once you take that leap, or once you make that choice, it's living with the consequences of those actions, is that you are going to be isolated quite a bit. You are going to be diving into realms and thinking in ways that is completely opposed to the common morality. I feel like that's why Nietzsche's probably taken off, being more popular nowadays, is that he's not a closed philosophy. There's not an end to it, but it's a process. It helps you create a process to find a way to get out of it if you can, and that really does press you asking the deep questions and answering them, and being honest with yourself at all times. What are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? And what do you need to prove? And who are you? And what are your proclivities? And what are your transgressions? And what are your traits? And not trying to find blame in somewhere else. But not trying to, I guess, bring yourself down to the point where you become lethargic. There is a fine line in the practice that is necessary. But, I was just trying to get my boy to read it, just to see if he could find some answers, and hopefully this helps him out as well, is because, that's what this is all about. People are aware that we are losing complete confidence in ourselves. The entire rhetoric has been for thousands of years. One could say that free will is a way to make men guilty for their actions. We're constantly felt to be guilty. We, as human beings, we're terrible human beings. We ravage the planet, can't control ourselves. Look at us, we're hedonistic, and we're such pieces of shit and stuff like that. We're constantly clowning ourselves. We have a very negative viewpoint towards our nature and towards our instincts, as if we could be separated from that, right? going to reason, but reason has been so detached from nature that it's taken on this religious aspect where it has superseded or has taken the role of God and religion in the secularized world. Secularized. Because it's continuing on the same breath. It's this rejection of nature, looking at nature and seeing that, I don't like what I'm seeing here, therefore I'm going to come up with these constructs to justify what I'm seeing, to filter out what I'm seeing in a way that is beneficial for me. That's morals, that's God, that's religion, that's even the basis of science, really. And that's what's happening here. Like, instead of God, instead of finding a justification of God, it's rejecting nature. It's this trans movement and a plethora of other fucking issues that have been going on. The effeminization of men and the masculinization of women, which is completely contradictory. Everything is contradictory for us nowadays. It's not even from a traditional perspective. It's just from roles, and we're just so separated from how everything has been. And we do reject nature. We see ourselves as terrible human beings, right? And that's just taken on from Christianity, that original sin, that it's our will that led us to commit original sin, to eat from the garden, to eat the apple from the Garden of Eden, right? That we are guilty of our actions because we have free will. As you can see, it's all just a control mechanism, and you're gonna have to read people way greater than I in order to understand it and for to be given justice these concepts. I'm attached to these things quite well, but I still have a lot of reading to do to be anywhere near competent, in my opinion. But there with that rejection of all these things, there's a rejection of a lot of other factors along with it, and that's the behaviors and how you act and what you believe in. Obviously, it's a lot easier said than done, though. We have these habits of what other people do just because it's in our culture to do. We don't question why we perform these behaviors, we just do them. And to question that itself, like, do I really want to do it? Am I doing it because I want to do it, or am I doing it because it's nature? But even that itself goes down the rabbit hole of free will and how much choice do I really have in anything, really. But I think that's going to be for another time. But it's just a lot of questions in regards to the crisis of meaning, and to question these aspects of the prevailing ideology and the morality, so you could kind of be able to look at it now from a different perspective and create your own and see what works for you. What works for me works for others, doesn't work for others, because we are all different human beings. And I'm just trying to be supportive with my friend as well, is trying to help one another and be like, all right, which I realize is an offloading of suffering, which is maybe not something I want to be doing. If I want to be honest, I need to do other stuff besides that. So, but that'll be all for today. I'm getting hungry. Not gonna lie. So I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Make some glorious gains. And until next time, peace.